Hello, YouTube world. Welcome to Rebirth. And to start this off, I would like to say to all of my viewers, those that like and those that subscribed, thank you. You have really showed me love, and that motivates me to do more. I will continue to research, find good, concrete evidence, and bring more knowledge to the table. Now, saying that, let's move on to our topic for today. Today we're going to talk about HIV. The title is HIV-1, the origin and the best ways to protect yourself. Based on information found by the AIDS Institute during the 1950s, somewhere in West Africa, to be exact, Zaire. We're talking about the area of the Congo. There were a polio treatment experiment going on, trying to find a cure to polio, because during that time polio was ripping through a lot of areas in the US, in the UK. The British government went all out. Dr. Kaprowski went over to Africa, took a team. They researched and they found the chimpanzees that had what they called at that time the immunodeficiency virus. Because it was chimpanzees, it was called SIV, simian immunodeficiency virus. These primates carried the similar virus that we carry today in the US called HIV. So before there was an HIV, there was an SIV. And you could take a strand of HIV, inject it into one of those chimpanzees. It will not kill them, regardless of the response to the antibodies. The immune system would not break down. They would not die. And they ran tests on that. And when they found out that's what was going on, they wanted to know how they can make us immune. Now, all this was motivated by the polio vaccine. So by doing that, they would take the serum that they came up with, the vaccine, and they were testing it on people in Africa. Many people died. Today they say that was only a theory, but it's so many information, so much information out there about this incident. So I just want everyone to wrap your mind around that. Before there was HIV, there was SIV, humans versus primates. HIV, humans. SIV, primates. AIDS was called something else at that time. In America, they called it AIDS. They finally called it AIDS. And that was the progression of the HIV virus. So here we are. We're in a situation where they're over in Africa doing testing, trying to find a cure for polio, testing their serums, their meds that they're making on the African people. And here we go. Now, to this day, there are arguments on that, whether it was true whether the African was dying anyway because they was eating bad monkeys or what have you. It's just an argument. But we're still left with these questions. How did the immunodeficiency virus get to America? To understand that, for many decades, researchers believed that the HIV-1 was introduced to humans within the human population based on that same theory, that were the fact that they were exposed because they went out hunting for the meat of the chimpanzee, and they were contaminated that way. A subspecies of chimpanzees, natives, they were located in Africa as well, had been identified as the original source of the human immunodeficiency virus. Now, this is another argument that the chimpanzees is the reason why they're saying they are the original carriers, which I do believe that. I put myself on record now. I do believe that. But one theory still hangs in the balance, and that theory is that the original AIDS virus were caused by the contaminated vaccine used in the world's first mass immunization for polio. Think about it. But there's another. When gathering monkey tissue from the organs to make the vaccine, remember, trials is just what it was called, trials. So there was no proof that it would work when they used those vaccines on humans. There was no guarantee, but they did it anyways. My question would be, why go to Africa to do it? You could have gotten the monkeys, went back to your hometown, threw up a tent, and guess what? You could have went out in your own community and used your own people. Why not do that? That's just a theory. Trial and error. They continued to try different methods until they got it right. But in the process of giving unproven vaccine to men, women, and children in Zaire, it killed many. We lost many lives because of trial and error. Edward Hooper later produced evidence that the U.S. produced vaccine that had amplified in Africa using chimpanzees as a substrate, thus showing the theory could be correct, that it was contaminated means and methods that caused all the lives being lost in Zaire, in the Congo region. Another monkey virus was called SV40, is known to have been passed to humans through the polio vaccine. That's another type of virus that monkeys was carrying. Now remember this, there wasn't that type of atrocity of deaths before Kaprowski went over and set up tent to do his laboratory experiments. All the deaths started after he went over there. Keep that in mind. We're talking about the origin. In order for the virus to infect a different species, we have to remember that you have to reduce the resistance of the new host immune system. So the breakdown of the host immune system makes it more viable for the virus to take control and take over and end up killing the host. This is what happens. Remember, this vaccine, Kaprowski used for the vaccine, for the polio vaccine, was given to many children less than 1 month old before their immune systems were fully developed. Now think about it. In one trial, they have on record that the infants were giving 15 times the standard dosage in order to ensure effectiveness of the immunization, to make sure that their immune system were ready for that type of immunization. Now that you know a little about the history, we're talking about in the 1950s, all this took place, going into 1960. I want you to think about doing your own research and opening your minds, not to look for blame, but to look for, to broaden and educate yourself on what happened, and then you'll understand why we have what we have today in America and why it's not getting no better. Because if you have the same type of thinking that you had back then with in those years with Kaprowski, with the medical profession now and the scientific world now, guess what? We'll never eradicate AIDS. We'll never get past the hump that we need. So now what do we do? What do we do as individuals to protect ourselves? We must educate ourselves first. And first of all, HIV is found in the blood, semen, pre-seminal fluid, vaginal fluid, rectal fluid, and breast milk. This is where you would find it. This is where to hide, because they get in the cells of blood cells. This is where it hides. HIV spreads when one of these fluids from one person with HIV enters the body of a person that does not. So it's like basically sexual intercourse, whether it's vaginal, rectal, and even oral sex. You have to be careful. A woman with child, lactating, her breast milk, if she's HIV positive, it's not good for the child. It is not very good for the child at all. It can be passed on. This can happen, and it can happen very easily. We must be careful. I'm warning that the warning that I'm placing here on this channel is become aware. Think about what you're doing. Too many men and women are out here just loosely living their lives and thinking there's no repercussion, and we're living in a world where diseases are basically in charge. This can happen through anal, oral, or vaginal sex. Needles, syringes are also another way that you can contract this disease. It can be transmitted through using unsterilized needles. First of all, in the medical field, when you use a needle once, it's get discarded. We do not hold on to it. It goes right into a bin that is thrown out. Never use one needle twice. Other injection equipments, the same way. Once, even when you go and they use a needle and they finish with it, when they pull it out, especially IVs, once they pull it out, it's going directly into the trash. It's not being held on to. These are the practices that medical professionals are doing. These are the practices. And that's right. That's what they should do to protect their patients in the hospitals or clinics. According to the CDC, that Center for Disease and Control, about 90% of new HIV infections results from sexual activity. I am really pushing for people to understand how important it is to limit your sexual partners, the number of your sexual partners. It is not safe to go out and just because he's cool, or just because he can rap, or just because he has this nice whatever, it's not cool to just do it with anybody. Bottom line. I'm just keeping it real, people. So what you want to do, first and foremost, is get tested. Know your own status. Know what you are when it comes down to your health. Know who you are, know what you are, know your status, and whatever you learn, you act upon those things and do whatever you need to do by going to health professionals and asking questions. And once they give you instructions, follow those instructions and stay safe. Getting tested is important. It's important for you and your partner to get tested. You also want to completely be in a situation where if you're not comfortable, just abstain. Abstinence is the number one way of not getting infected. That is the number one. That's top. You do not want to rely on other means as much as abstinence, because if you're abstaining from sex, basically you're not having those type of interactions that can possibly cause a transmission. That's the best way to save yourself. And this is from vaginal, anal, or oral sex. Next, using a condom, latex condom, are considered to be the most effective in protecting yourself from HIV. But that's not 100% safe. But it's safer. It's next to abstinence, so to speak. Using a water-based, silicone-based lubricant during sex can prevent condoms from slipping or breaking. That's just a little known fact. And it lowers the risk of anal and vaginal tears. So people just keep that in mind. That's just something that you can think about. Another one, limit sexual partners. Focus on a monogamous relationship with someone who doesn't have HIV and shares your idea of a committed sexual relationship between just the two of you. In other words, not dealing with cheating John or cheating Susan. Because when you do that, you raise the risk. Some people are into drugs. They share needles. That's a no-no. You want to stay away from stuff like that. And you know, it's just something that we must be careful of and we must protect ourselves from. At the end of the day, if you have more questions, if you have more concerns, you always have your local doctor's office, your PCP, primary care physician. You can just drive up to that office and just say, hey, listen, I have some questions, I have some concerns. And you ask away. You have clinics that you can go to and find someone to talk to within that clinic, a professional. This is a powerful topic. And I want to thank you all for tuning in, listening. If you like it. And I'm asking for more subscribers so that we can continue to push better health out into this world through this platform. Thank you for listening. Like and or subscribe to my channel. Thank you.